AllReasonNoLogic.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a 3v3 on Eclipsed, one of the new maps modelled in the StarCraft fashion with high ground bases, expansion points, and a lot of passageways to the enemy. Joining me today is AllReasonNoLogic Tank Tom, one of the players in this game.
You'll see plenty of action on the front lines throughout this game. One of the key bits with this map is there's a lot of metal in those starting bases.
Got 5 1.5s in each base, and then with expansion areas around the map with similar, they also have geos, so this is an economic heavy map. The question is, do you buckle up and take all that eco, or do you assume the other team is going to do that and push on out and try and break them while they're ecoing heavily? On the blue team, leading us is our OS26 player, Membrane, going for a bot start. Looks like he's going straight into some units after construction bots. We'll see whether 5 is too many or just enough. Black Death
Bots for all players on the blue team.
Black Death on the high hill and Dali on the other high hill. Tank Tom on the low hill. Winera on the high hill and the closest to the opponent's chronographer. A couple of these guys I hope you recognize from the AllReasonNoLogic Discord. If you're interested in playing with them or us, we're usually on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Jump on in. The link is in the description. Having a look at Membrane, he's elected to get some solars, which on a map with a max of 10 wind speed, max of 10 wind speed, and can go all the way down to 0. I don't dislike this, though at the moment it is biting him because the 10 wind is prevailing strong, but you certainly have to find that mix. Whatever you can do to get that geo up early to offset the huge variation in the wind is what I would be doing.
Always that risk reward, and you can see that pretty much every player's got res bots out on the field.
Getting those trees is the optimal solution to get that geo up, or do what Tank Tom's done, which is find these little pockets of water around the map and get those plus 18 energy titles. Looking around,
when there options there, you may as well make the most of it when you don't have to go walking particularly far to use them.
Yep, the little areas next to the low ground bases, very, very good for that. They're going to be quite hidden and they're going to get a lot of work done. Looking up at the players, we have a tiny bit of scouting coming from the green player. Looks like he's going to be heading over towards the orange player's base, but with grunts out and on a line to intercept. It does not look like it's going to get very far. First shot goes out to the orange grunt, but there is a shot back from the orange. Still 1-for-1 trade. Surprising considering the surround bonus, but that is the variation that happens in this game sometimes. Another small engagement for Tank Tom over on the other side, but players holding off their opponents and not letting them get any scouting information, and now the red team is moving across the map in somewhat of force. Tom, what were you thinking at this point in the game?
At this point, it was largely expanding and working out where the rest of the players were, knowing that we're going to essentially be holding a line somewhere near that middle. My intention was to hold the front, or at least hold up my side of the front, and then work with the other guys who were probably going to start coming online with the ecos before I did.
Orange pushing on through and finding the front LLT for the green player. Good little positioning for that one. Able to shoot down the cliff, which means that it is going to get a lot of damage as units slowly walk up. But the red team marking their territory with that middle ground, parking them on the other side of the map and holding there, gives them access to more of those 2.6 mexes.
So you can see between the red and yellow players, we've essentially got that middle covered at this point. We know that they're still over on their side.
And it looks like there might be an engagement between blue and yellow. Yellow's grunts spread out a little bit too much for this one, so the blue team gets a great little engagement, sniping off 2 of those pawns. and with the comm backing them up, definitely too much of a fight for what the yellow has, but safely managing to
And
pull
that'll
out at
be
least into
the
these
first of
stocks.
many engagements on that side.
Yes. Another small loss just from some miss micro there, but nothing too dramatic, and pushing on in at the edge of the range, managing to take the additional grunts and win this little engagement. Great play by Tank Tom, taking the mechs, getting some damage on the comm, though will lose those pawns to the comm. But 10% for 2 pawns, so long as you capitalize on that before it heals up, that is not a bad trade. Red pushing on into the blue player, but no damage done beyond a single mechs and a bit of a medal donation. So blue team defending well. Having a look at the ecos, we have a slight advantage for red, 45 to 41 medal per second, and a definite advantage on the energy, those titles and the geos kicking off earlier for the red player, for the red team. But there is some medal left behind by the red players that they can use to, medal left behind by the red players, the blue players can use to get back and build more units. Game stagnating in the middle ground for the time being, as is expected on a big map like this. Everyone just trying to hold that middle ground while they consolidate the ecos they've been given. Blue pushing forward with the solo comm, some potential there, but unfortunately for Tank Tom, only seeing the turret being built, and without physically looking there, it won't actually be much of a grab with the ping coming
And at
up.
this point, I reckon I was looking back in my base trying to get things going there.
Exactly, more titles going down, huge amount of energy combining the titles, and the geos definitely need some conversion from the red team. They have so much power generation going on between them, but no conversion. And that is something that the blue team also definitely needs. They've got plenty of energy generation, but no conversion. Looking at the green player, he has elected to get some advanced solars instead of the Geo. Don't love that. The Geo is much
Talking
more
about
metal efficient for the energy.
the
Little,
energy, red is just going past 55 energy excess, 55,000 compared to the 13 for the blue team.
so
So
huge.
lots of energy getting wasted on the red side at the moment.
Got to get those converters down. Tank Tom has a builder going for them, but the first 3 were outside of the range of the build tower, so a slow start for that conversion. Looking on in at the top section, Dali, the green player, defending very heavily his expansion point, and the orange player defending by pushing forward and keeping him locked into his base. And a couple of twin guards on the front line so that he doesn't have to be in 2 places at once.
Definitely turning into a diagonal front with the blue player pushing
Blue,
further and further in.
Blue player doing a great job there, getting the LLT with a D gun before it comes on up, and cleaning up Tank Tom's pawns. Tank Tom, I expect better out of you. You should be winning these fights. Good little engagement there, stopping the grunts from running on through and cleaning up the last ones before any damage or scouting is done. Red coming in to assist, but with those thugs there, the pawns of the grunts just not enough anymore. Looking at the Orange's front line, an entire conga line of aggravators is heading across. They have a move command to that 2.6, but it looks like if Black Death had just pushed forward a little bit more, which he's doing now, then he would be able to catch these out while they're in a line, though stopping where he has not going to get that catch. And if the aggravators get together too much, they'll have the firepower to kite most of these units. Looks like a potential engagement here. Something which we're seeing is a lot of units with halos above their head. Players have been electing to resurrect these units instead of reclaim them, which means they've got active red spots running around the map. Great way to keep your army healthy. Great way to keep your numbers up. Little engage on the front line. Orange pulling back a little bit slowly, so these pawns do manage to get shots in, but there should be enough aggravators to clean these up, though he is running down the line, so lots of damage done by these pawns, and he has stopped the orange player has stopped moving, so going to lose all these aggravators. Got to keep these units backing up if you want them to fight. The aggravator is a hit and run unit or a kiting unit, not or a sieging unit, not a stand and fight unit. But
Blue's
this,
managing to push his advantage in the middle.
though, something he's not doing is reclaiming. There is 300 metal, and I know it's only 300 metal, but when your entire team is starved, that's a lot of metal that he's leaving on the table. Orange
Yeah, at
tried
this
to
point, I was struggling for metal myself.
Orange tried to push up into Green's base, but Big's around there, and those thugs are going to turn into more army for the Green player. Tank Tom doing his best to hold up here, but the army advantage is definitely in favor of the blue player. Looking at the ecos, it's still red favored, but the gap is closing, and anytime reclaim is on the field, the gap falls further toward the gap closes a little bit because the blue team is controlling a lot of that reclaim. Little thing to note just down the bottom here, Tank Tom's has got a grunt that is running back and forth in front of these mexes. He's not in a position to take them, but that one unit will stop any builder from coming through and building behind his back. If he only could get one set up, but based on where the front line is, that's not going to happen. Some aggression coming in from Tank Tom. Tom, this is a lot to fight into. Did you think you would actually win this, or were you just trying to play some mind games and stop his units from building up to an even greater level?
I was basically just trying to keep the front busy at this point. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to crack it, but I figured if I could at least, duck in, get a volley off, pull back out, rinse and repeat, I'd have half a chance.
Something very interesting that's happening here is both teams have elected not to fight each other's armies and just try and get stuck in. But Blue is not microing his units like Tank Tom is, and they stop at a critical moment.
And the reason that I left that army to run through was that Red had hounds coming through my base to catch whatever had leaked, and I pushed the advantage on the comm, knowing that the exposed comm wasn't going to be able to survive.
Great job sniping the comm, and truly, if the blue units hadn't stopped on the base, yes, the hounds would have cleaned them up, but not before they took out most of your metal production, probably your build power and your bot lab. So a tiny bit of missed micro by the blue player, only sending the units over here and not all the way in, actually made that trade super efficient for you and not so much for him. So the tiniest plays can make a difference. Air rushing right on past. We didn't even see the air transition out of the orange player. No air defenses, and blue is open for an attack, though, without lots of wind fields. These will have limited effect, though they will get that second bombing run on and take the geo. So I say limited effect, I guess I meant they won't have a quick effect. And they are geo-hunting, it looks like, heading straight on up to the second one. Black Death going for a chainsaw, but not rushing it out, which means no air defenses for him. Looks like the blue player has left. The loss of his comm and the loss of his geo means he does not want to be a part of this anymore. Bit disappointing. He still actually has a great income, and he still has ability to get back into the game, so definitely not the call I would have made, but can't blame someone for ducking out. Great damage coming on down, and again, the green player not reacting to this air call. The attack commands come down on the geo, but there is no geo, so it's always an interesting one.
When you've got a limited fighting force like this, it's generally worth going. You at least know that the geos are going to be high sources of energy for each team, and you know exactly where they're going to be, regardless of whether you've scouted it or not. So you can always plan to hit those as a first target when you're looking to do eco damage.
Teal player pushing in with his army, acknowledging that a lot of damage has just been done to all of them. They're now very likely heavily behind, though they're not actually that far behind. It's only when reclaim's up that they look far behind. Trying to push on in, but against this hound swarm and how slow these units are moving, it's going to be a tough slog getting on in. Well microed by the red player, managing to keep all the way out of the fire of the teal player and just rain that damage in. correctly.
Good teamwork from both of them working on that surround together.
Yep, you've got the orange units cleaning up from behind and the hounds harassing on through. Good choice using the heavy plasma instead of the Gauss. The extra AoE the extra AoE is great, and these units aren't going to miss in a fight like that. And unfortunately for the blue team, they've still got that one. They've still got that one bomber floating around, and he's just been picking things up. Most of the mechs has gone for the teal player, and more damage coming in to the green player. No one has yet taken the blue player, which means that his units and his defenses have been completely idle and just leaking his eco into the other players, which is rather unfortunate. Green trying to push in with a lot of fiends, manages to get all the way up the ramp, but these couple of shurikens managing to stop them. A little bit of damage done, build power mostly, a little bit of energy. But great little run by for the green player, though sacking a lot to do it. The reclaim field in front of red would be immense at this point. Tank Tom, you are now essentially without an opponent. Had you realized at this point that the blue player had left and that you were fighting in an uncontrolled lane?
No, I don't think I had at this point.
So
You can
just
see that I've got the builders going to get those mexes, but I don't reckon that I'd realized that there was nothing in front of me at this stage.
So essentially just consolidating after that losing fight that you were in for a long time, which you finally managed to swing around.
Yeah, with that start, because I only had the basically the mexes in my base, and then the one in front of me, I didn't have a whole lot of metal to work with in that early game.
Yeah, definitely when you get starved like that and pushed in like that, it can be quite hard because you're always at an army disadvantage, and so you just bleed more and more and more. But all players getting onto that T2 except for the teal player, and and the hounds that were used to defend starting to push their way into the green base. The problem is
Yeah,
very little vision, so getting those shurikens up there is good, but it would almost be better to have a scout flying around to give you that vision. Jumping on up, going to end up, once he's on the high ground, will have the opportunity to play much more aggressively. Fiends, though, coming up the ramp, and a good engagement by these Fiends will allow them to take out the Hounds. Hounds have to kite if they want to beat the Fiends, and the Fiends just have to play smart. Shuriken's doing a great job in keeping the Fiends back and only letting a couple engage on, but if you look at that, just two Fiends getting in on there destroyed a Hound and nearly destroyed two more. So you just have to take these engagements just the right way. And you can...
with those fiends, their advantage is the AoE damage
Yep.
and their speed. If they can get into a pack of anything, they'll deal a lot of damage.
DPS is king, and when it's AoE DPS, it is even more king. But these hounds, they do have the range advantage, and they are using it best they can. They're taking some shots from LLTs they don't need to take, and as you can see, the target priority is on that comm, not the LLTs. They're now taking a little bit of damage from some Sheldons as well, so they're choosing to back on out, with the Fiends advancing on them as well, and no shurikens
Good
this time.
invis on the comm to be able to save it there.
Walks
Once
away.
those hounds had lost vision, they couldn't attack anymore.
And walks
which
away
means
with
that the comm
10%.
gets to survive to live another day.
And that is definitely well done. But considering, and with the two fusions, he had the energy to do it, no worries. And look at the rate he's pumping out units. All of these Sheldons getting ready to fight the Hound pack. They with both of these being ranged sieging units, so they will have a good little shell off between each other. Black Death, the teal player, doing his absolute best to hold the middle ground here, but with orange and yellow pushing in on him, he's going to be struggling on two fronts here, and with most of his eco having been destroyed by the air raid, he's going to struggle having the units up. Looks like he's getting the low ground Geo to try and push back into this game, considering the dark blue player has left, and so trying to reclaim those, trying to utilize that area best as possible. Sheldon's hounding the hounds, shelling the hounds, But now the Sheldon's receiving some shelling in return from the Hounds. Good bit of hounding there.
And it looks like at this stage, with that map advantage, red is essentially going to continue that push on in.
One thing Dali did, which was absolutely fantastic, was he sniped the he sniped the smuggler, and got rid of the radar jamming, which means that his Sheldons are now reasonably free to fight on in. He just needs a tiny bit of anti-air to take out those shurikens, because the
Fiend's
shurikens are
pushing
the
in on
only
that right
things
side.
giving the Hounds the vision needed to get this done. And yep, Tank Tom, you have successfully pushed on into the blue base with some fiends, with some thugs, and are heading on up the ramp. Black Death, the teal player, has been forced to pull his entire army back to try and deal with this, but it is not a fast army, and it is trying to chase fiends. So the only real hope are the units coming out, and one of the great things that you can do as T1 bots, if you're playing as Armada, is get those Centurions. Centurions can actually fight fiends.
Real tanky units.
Really tanky units, and it looks like they've held off that push just long enough for the main force to get here. So great defense there from Black Death, the teal player. Similarly, absolutely fantastic play out of the green player, holding this middle section and pushing the Hounds back. Unfortunately, unable to fight in two places at once, and his comm goes down to some Hounds that have pushed on through the back. Down to the one comm, and it looks like a desperation nuclear missile is coming out from the green player. Can he equalize with this one? It looks like it has been seen. If we jump over to Orange's player view, the nuclear missile launcher has been seen, so the players are well aware of this coming up. When a nuclear launcher is displayed, the team does get a notification, and the solution seems to be coming in the form of a Lich. Looks like there is still no air defense in the green base, so the Lich should be able to take out the nuke before there is any real damage. In fact, there are two Liches coming in. Two Liches is all you need to snipe a comm. So the question is, are they going to go for the nuke, or are they going to go for the comm? Definitely great nuke out of the red player. Manages to snipe all of the build power and the nuclear and the nuke, which means that the
Good
last
bombing run
hope.
there too.
What was that?
The bombing run going down the line of Sheldons.
Absolutely phenomenal play by the red team, systematically picking apart the blue team. There is just the one comm left for the blue team, and with all of the units converging on this location and against only the T1, then this is going to be essentially a foregone conclusion. Chainsaws stopping the bombers from taking out most of the blue base, but their final revenge is to get the converters, so very low income for the blue players, only 13 left, and only the one of them left. Hounds, Sheldons, Thugs all heading up the ramp. This is going to be a very tough fight.
Lich coming in across the side.
Remember, it takes 2 nuclear bombs to kill a comm. There is a little bit of anti-air, and it goes for the Geo instead of going for the comm. Hounds try and push on past. Not the best use of Hounds. These do not have the most HP. What they do have is speed, range, and damage. So you definitely want to use them that way instead of trying to punch them through maces. Maces will actually trade favorably metal-wise if they're shooting at each other, as compared to one side being shot. But with all of these thugs coming in, and with all of these Sheldons coming in, it is just a matter of time until the comm is taken down. All these units on a move command, so just attacking what pops up. Black Death does try to invis his comm, but is taken out by a nuke. So great job from the red players. They managed to hold that massive blue aggression at the front and sustain their own and take out the rest of the players. Disappointing that we had a player leave this one. That definitely did tip the scales.
It was good to see the teamwork in that early phase with the red players coming to support yellow. Without that support, he would have definitely fallen.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was the hounds that it was the red hounds that protected yellow's base. If it wasn't for those, then blue was certainly would have taken out yellow, and this game could have gone very, very differently. And on that
Yes,
note,
we'll leave
thanks
it there.
everyone for watching, and we will catch you next time. If you enjoyed the game, please hit that like and subscribe button, jump on down into the comments, and if you want to play with us, jump on into the Discord in the description below. We play Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Catch you all next time.
See ya.